Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the September 24th, 2024 Planning Board meeting. I'd like to start with a pledge, please. Allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
I'd like to start with our announcements. The emergency exits are to your left and right. Restrooms are out the back and to the left. Please be sure to sign the attendance sheet at the back of the meeting room, even if you're presenting or a developer and are presenting to the application. There are business cards back there with contact information, and next to the sign-in sheet with email address and phone numbers for the planning department, should you need them. Also on the back table is a copy of any resolutions that may be read this evening, along with the agenda. Finally, please turn off your cell phone ringers or silence them, and so you don't disturb those presenting to the board. And if you decide you need to have a conversation with someone in the audience, please take it outside and close the doors so you don't interrupt those presenting to the public. Thank you. Any meeting minutes, Lisa? Okay, we don't have any meeting minutes for approval tonight. Correspondence received? Nope, okay, not outside of your packets. Board and committee meeting updates. Drew Cusmano from the town board is here. He has an update for us.
Good evening, board members. I'll be with you as the liaison through the end of the year now, so I look forward to that. Our regular board meeting of the town board was last night. A couple small things to make mention to: the 6-month moratorium that we had on solar, that has been extended for an additional 6 months, really just to finish out the natural evolution of the work that committee has been doing. So I think that their hope is, sometime around year end, but certainly within that next 6-month period, we'll have a good idea of a proposal for what they're looking at. We set a public hearing for a code revision to fences related to corner lots, and then something that certainly will be coming to you guys in the near future if you haven't seen it yet. We deemed the Lehigh Place PPD rezoning application complete, and that'll be referred to you guys as well as the county planning board for the project on Victor Heights Parkway. The only other comment I wanted to add relating to your agenda item number 1 this evening relates to County Road 9. I'm currently working with the town supervisor in requesting some speed reductions and maybe change to traffic flows related to some of our long-term planning and some of the infrastructural changes that could help to reduce crash data, reduce speeds along County Road 9 corridor. So we're currently working with the county and the state to try to put together a packet that will be a little bit more supportive than the traditional 1-pager or 2-pager that we would traditionally send off to get a reduction of speed requests. So I know we have some buy-in and some input from some of our local elected officials in the region, and hopefully that is going to provide us some assistance in reducing the speed on County Road 9. Certainly, that's a target hazard area that we've been focusing on and identifying as, a corridor that we need to improve some traffic safety on.
Okay, any questions for Drew? Thank you, Drew.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you the rest of the year. Finally, before the first application, Keith Maynard, Planning Board updates.
Keith Maynard, Project Manager for the Town of Victor. The next Planning Board meeting is Tuesday, October 8th at 7 p.m. There's a sketch plan for 115-117 Victor Heights Parkway subdivision. It's 115-117 Victor Heights Parkway. Applicant is requesting acknowledgement of a complete application to subdivide a 3.7-acre parcel into 2 parcels. There are currently 2 existing 16,000 square foot buildings on the parcel. This is the first step in a major subdivision, and only acknowledgement of a complete application is considered at this meeting. The next one is a public hearing. This is for stage 585. This is at 818 Eastview Mall. Applicant is requesting approval for a change of use in the space formerly occupied by Nocino's, which was formerly occupied by Biaggi's Restaurant and Bar. Applicant is looking to add live music and a stage to the site. And then preliminary application, if it's ready to come back for Bluestone Trail, formerly 7200 Rawson Road. This is 18.5 acres. Applicant is requesting preliminary approval to develop a 59 for-sale townhome unit subdivision on 18.5 acres. Project would consist of 2 private roads off of the north side of Rawson Road. This will be the second step in a 3-step process for a major subdivision. And then the last one is the preliminary application for the Smith subdivision, which is at 421 County Road 9. Applicant is requesting approval to subdivide a second parcel from the existing parcel at 421 County Road 9. Lot 1 is proposing a lot line adjustment for a total of 1.508 acres. Lot 2 will consist of an existing home with driveway access to County Road 9 on 2.068 acres. And Lot 3 will consist of 0.920 acres with access onto County Road 9. This is the second step in a major subdivision. Any questions?
Thank you, Keith.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have 5 items on the agenda this evening. First one is a sketch application. This is not a public hearing, so we won't be taking public comment, but it's for the Aldrich Road subdivision being proposed at Aldrich Road and County Route 9. Owner, DeHollander Design Incorporated. Applicants requesting acknowledgement of a complete application to develop a 5-lot duplex subdivision on 10.29 acre parcel. This is the first step of a major subdivision, and only acknowledgement of a completed application will be considered at this meeting.
Good evening, Greg McMahon with McMahon LaRue Associates. Also here tonight is Nick Graziosi with Gerber Homes, the developer. As you stated, they're proposing a 5-lot subdivision on Aldrich Road. Each of the lots would be developed with a duplex. There are sewers and water available. We have submitted through the past month or two some different concepts. Up on the board is what was referred to as Concept A, and the second one, Concept B. Thus far, I think the indication from staff that's reviewed it is that the Concept A is probably going to be the preferred layout. This will be a private road. It'll be built to town standards, 22 feet wide with gutters, so a full 27 feet gutter-to-gutter width for the road. And as we show up on that concept, the developments are up close to the fronts of the lots, and that's due to a good portion of this property being a wetland, and we're building out certainly outside the wetland area. That's a brief summary of the project. Again, we're here just for sketch plan acknowledgement, but if there's any questions I can answer or anything that Nick can answer, we'd be glad to.
So for everyone's understanding, the concepts A and B that you talked about are basically a variation in where the driveway is
Yes.
entering County Route 9, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. This is an interesting concept proposal for this site. There's kind of a long history for this parcel, and I had a good conversation with Wes Betty, who's our engineer advisor for the board. I asked him to put a little presentation together to help the board understand where this whole parcel has come from and how it's evolved over the last 8 years maybe. So I'll open it up to Wes, and then the board can chime in with questions after they've gotten a good review. Thanks, Wes.
Sure thing. This isn't overly long, and it's not overly technical either, but I just wanted to go through a little bit of the history of the Scout Reserve subdivision, property formerly owned by the Victor Community Church. Initially started in 2017, the Scout Reserve subdivision. And what we're seeing here on the screen is the sketch plan that was initially submitted. And just to orient you, you can see the north arrow here. So County Road 9 is up and down here, and then Aldridge Road is left and right. And you can see that the purpose of this subdivision, the intent, as described by the applicant at the time, was to create 7 building lots ranging in size from 1 acre to 21 acres. And you can see each of the 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, front on Aldrich Road. And the largest parcel at the time for sketch plan was this parcel here. And then you've got one deep lot and then one smaller lot that ends here. And then again, another deep lot here, and then another small one that ends here. And so that was what was presented to the planning board back in 2017. Moving along, after acknowledgement of a complete sketch plan application, the applicant did file a preliminary subdivision application for those 7 lots, as you can see here. And kind of the same orientation here. County Road 9 right here, Aldrich Road here. And the project that is presented before you tonight, the Aldrich Road subdivision, depicts or shows those 5 duplex lots in this area right here. And this little blue line, what that is basically, I just highlighted there what the wetland delineation was shown as at the time that the preliminary subdivision application was submitted by the applicant. So during the conversations of the planning board for this preliminary subdivision review for the 7 lots, there was some conversation about this shared common drive, and it looked rather hefty for just 2 lots. And so there was some conversation about what might happen beyond this particular lot, right? And what were the developer's intentions going beyond this particular project that showed the 7 lots. So as part of that, the developer at the time submitted this, what I'll call, or what they termed a master plan, which showed, again, the 7 lots, and then also some home sites deeper into this lot. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 homes that were deeper onto this lot 2. And you can see each one of these homes had frontage, 100 feet of frontage on Aldrich Road, here, here, and here. However, the driveway access was going to be from this shared common drive. And at the time of that sketch plan, or this master plan that they had submitted, we see here 3 conceptual single-family homes that were part of the Scout Reserve overall sketch. Moving on, this is the approved preliminary plan for the 7 lots, and you can see the extension of the wetland highlights. So an additional delineation was done, and this is the highlight here of some wetlands, and then there was also some wetlands over here. So we have an idea that, yes, there are wetlands on the project parcel, Here's where the wetlands come into close proximity to some of the development, and this is what was submitted, and this is what was approved as a preliminary subdivision. The final application, which was ultimately approved in 2018, this again shows the 7 lots, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then the 7th lot is this large, I'll call that, I guess that was actually lot 2. And you can see that it established the shaded area as a conservation easement area, right? And there's also a shaded area here for a common access drive and an easement probably between the properties, I believe it. I believe it is. And it left some remaining space over here that was not in a conservation easement. And this is, again, Victor Egypt Road, County Road 9. And this is simply another iteration of that final subdivision plan for the 7 lots. It just shows, it goes into a little bit more detail and shows kind of the house pads and the driveway configuration. And then at that point in time, let me just back up here a little bit. This previous slide. So for this subdivision, for this 7-lot subdivision, the town did review a seeker environmental assessment form. It was unknown to the town whether or not any further subdivision would occur. So the town considered in that seeker review 7 lots only, and issued a negative declaration, and that allowed them to move forward with approving the final plat for the 7 lots. A little while later, I don't know the exact date, we could look that up, but a sketch plan application was submitted for this lot 2, or this larger lot, which encompassed or considered these additional home sites here that still kind of showed a depiction of their lot frontages, 100 feet of lot frontages here and here. As well as these 3 single-family homes over in this vicinity. And finally, in 2021, this is actually a copy of the Mylar that was approved. I've altered it a bit. That's why you see some of the color on here. But you'll see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I think there's 11 home sites on this project parcel in total. And there's the shared common driveway here, right? For which the planning board considered and provided a waiver to allow for more than 3 properties to access or use a shared common drive, because the regulation, the town standard, is that no more than 3 lots can share a common drive. And that left approximately 40,000, just shy of 41,000 square feet of what I guess you could maybe consider developable area, just shy of an acre over in this vicinity. But that's only considering what this approximate United States Army Corps of Engineer wetland boundary is showing. This is not a delineated boundary. This is simply off of an NWI map, but it shows kind of the general area of what was considered to be the Army Corps of Engineer, a federal wetland. This was 2021. So as part of this project, as part of this Lot 2 subdivision, a second seeker review was done for just those additional home sites that were in this area, and I think maybe there might have been 1 additional lot here. So again, we went through Part 2 and Part 3 of the EAF. A seeker negative declaration neg deck was issued by the planning board, and the final subdivision plan was approved. So that kind of gives a little bit of the history of what transpired between 2017 and now. It seems like what had occurred was a very fragmented way of going about the project, but I guess there's some uncertainties on the developer's side of things as to whether or not additional development was going to be proposed and even when that might be proposed. So, Labella, we've also issued a comment letter. It's very hot off the press. It's just we issued it today. We've got some suggestions for you, some things to take into consideration. For example, per the town's natural resource inventory, this project area is within a co-occurrence area. So that what that means is there are more than 2 environmentally sensitive, what are considered environmentally sensitive or environmental features that kind of overlap each other. And I think the 4 that are in this particular location include wetlands, streams, steep slopes, and forests. So, and I've attached those relevant pages to our comment letter. And let's see, what else do I want to share with you? Oh, I guess also just to back up a bit on this overall project, right? So if we go back to the initial planning of this project, you'll see that a lot of the lots, what happened is they were clustered in one particular area of the project parcel and weren't scattered about entirely because of the environmental sensitivities here, right, on the project parcel. So the purpose behind the clustering provisions is to permit the most appropriate use of land to preserve the natural, scenic, and ecological qualities of environmentally sensitive areas, and to provide for larger areas of open space, both for recreation and for environmental conservation purposes. So that, as part of this project, the town, the developer, probably want to get back into that, use the clustering provisions, which also afforded the developer the opportunity to create some flag lots whereby you notice that these particular lots here I guess I can't see my pointer. These particular lots now do not have frontage that comes out over in this location, the 100 feet of frontage. The clustering provisions allowed for these lots to have approximately 20 feet of frontage over in this location, which is not compliant with the town's code, other than the clustering provisions allow the planning board to reduce those dimensional requirements. So as long as it's a clustered subdivision, you've got the ability to kind of loosen up those dimensional standards to a degree. So a lot of the home sites were clustered over here, and I guess that's what I wanted to offer, at least at this point, before you, no, I'll leave it up to you guys to talk about.
Thank you, Wes.
Sure.
It was a good refresher for the history here at the site. For all of the board members, we weren't all on the board during this whole process, so that helps. So I will open it up to the board for questions of the developer, and Al, we can start with you.
Well, aside from the wetland depicted there, are there concerns around water for the proposed duplex lots? I mean, being a low-lying area and subject to, accumulating water.
Not at this point, no. I think we can, through grading and proper handling of any subsurface water, we can address that. There won't be septic systems, so those don't become an issue. But certainly with grading and foundation drains, footing drains, a proper treatment of the homes can be done, and drainage of the roads and so forth.
Okay, thank you. And then I think just the only other comment was that I prefer option A, where the intersection from Duck Hollow is aligned. I think that's a preferred option for the private drive.
So to your point, or your question, Al, this right here is I believe it's the wetland delineation, right? Or at least the
Yes, it is.
tentative. All of these parcels are a good 6, 8, 10 feet lower than the road when you get back towards those wetland lines. So if you were planning on raising the ground around those homes in order to grade level with the driveway, you're going to be filling way into these wetlands.
I don't think it's the intent is to raise them. I mean, we
Well-
will,
You're going to be down at wetland levels.
right.
The backyards will be the lower levels. They're going to be walkouts because the garages are going to be pretty much at the same level as County Road 9.
And just state your name for the
Nick
record.
Graziosi. sorry about that. So there won't be a lot of fill needed, and there won't be any put into the wetlands.
But this particular duplex that you're proposing has no backyard because you're right into the wetlands.
It's-
How does that work?
It's an exposed, the rear of the building is basically a walkout, so there is,
But there's no yard for the house. What keeps the people from mowing down the wetlands and,
the town requires that all of the corners there be staked and signed.
understood?
Right.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that further, I'm sure. Scott, any questions?
Well, I agree. I think that one northerly lot looks tight, based on the sketch. I think option A, avoids an offset intersection with the entrance to the subdivision across the way. I think it's most safest option. We're considering safety on County Road 9. I guess I have a question for Wes, which is, we're going to do then another seeker review of the project, even though it seems like we did a seeker review or a
I think that's,
portion thereof
Yeah.
once upon a time.
I think that's an excellent question, and as you know, the seeker regulations frown upon segmenting seeker review, but that's exactly what we've been doing here with this particular piece of property, is piecemealing the review and approval process as either new plans get developed or, I don't feel like the planning board has ever had the full story and a full submission of what the project is going to be. And, so yeah, it's going to be another segmented review.
That's all I have.
Ernie,
So the review we did with regard to those properties on,
go up to your microphone a little bit more, Ernie.
the properties on Aldridge, we've already approved those, and they built them already, I think.
Right.
How's that going to affect that?
Yeah, I think that's a good question, right? Because the planning board really didn't have the opportunity to do an environmental, like a full-scale environmental review under seeker for the project parcel and all of the development that was proposed, right? So again, we won't be taking into consideration with this particular seeker review what's already been constructed, right? And the subdivision that's already happened. I think as part of this site plan or part of this sketch plan submission, I think the planning board could ask for additional information that would be helpful for an environmental review under seeker. I think if we had a better idea of where these environmental features are, like for example, in comment number 5 of the letter that we issued today, it would be helpful if the sketch plan had the pertinent topographic features within the site and the adjoining tract, including existing buildings, water courses, water bodies, swamps, and wooded areas. Features to be retained and to be removed shall be so indicated. So the sketch in front of us, or what we see up here on the screen, we have an idea of where the wetland boundary is, but how extensive is the wetland? We don't really know how extensive the wetland is. I know there are some streams up north, or not north, I guess west of here. And how is this project, maybe it won't impact those streams, but I think a little more information would be helpful. And then maybe another comment I might have is the configuration of the lot lines, is that suitable for the long-term preservation and management of the open lands? Do you want each individual property owner having a slice of those environmentally sensitive features, or is there a better way to go about the long-term management of that property so that it's under, an HOA ownership of some form?
Thanks, Wes.
Your comments, Ernie?
That's it.
Okay. I think I have a few more opinions about this than the rest of the board. I have a real problem with the amount of development on this small parcel. There's 10 proposed units for 1 acre of land approximately of usable property. You're also asking for 10 units on a private driveway beyond the already waiver-approved 5 units that are, on Polidori's parcels, lots 1 through 5 to the south. So that doesn't even meet the code requirements. So you'd be asking for a waiver for that.
Technically, we'd be building a private road, not a private drive. And I don't think that has the same requirement about the 3.
I don't know what you mean by, why would there be a difference between a private road and a private drive?
It would be a full 26-foot wide. It could potentially be dedicated to the town, fire apparatus.
Town is not going to take this.
I'm not saying they
Yeah.
would, that's why I said private road and
Yeah.
not a private drive. So this would meet the fire marshal's requirements of a wider road. And I believe that should waive the 3-lot maximum without a waiver.
Okay, that's one of the points. The other one is you're building so close to the edge of the wetlands. I don't know how it's possible to not disturb them during construction, and in the future, how do you even take care of the property up to those wetlands without it spilling into it? I see, it just appears to me too much development for that small amount of clear land or vacant land. So those are a couple of the things I had an issue with.
Just to back up Joe's point, I think what you're trying to articulate partially is that the sketches of the previous Scout Reserve subdivision depicted in this area 3 single-family homes, right? And so it was the planning board's anticipation that if it were ever developed, maybe they would see 3 single-family homes versus 5 duplexes.
Yeah. Thank you, Wes. So the whole, as Wes indicated, I'll call it segmented review of this. It wasn't a formal segmentation, but it evolved, as you could clearly see. Never considered, I'll call it clustering of some buildings in this area. It was looking at the parcels of the rest of the property being sort of expanding out to incorporate more of the property and areas that were actually developable for the space. And I think what happened was they used enough of the land that could have been used in conjunction with other houses theoretically, even though it wasn't physically possible, to justify, that the clustering on that side of the parcel, the whole parcel. And my opinion, any more than 3 homes here should have been included in that review, because we would have had to look at all of this directly. So I know Scott DeHollander's passed on this application effort to you guys, but
Technically, I'm buying this personally for myself.
Okay.
It's not a Gerber Homes project.
All right.
And we're not partnering with Scott on it. I'm going to just buy it from him. outright.
understood. But the fact is, you have to go through the machinations of getting this all through and approved.
Mhm.
So, but at the same time, and not your fault, but clearly there was no intent ever to put more than the density of 3 homes, even in this small area. And you're talking 10 units. So that's an issue I have with this application as well. And the grading itself, getting front to back. Are these apartments or duplex to be owned?
Duplexes that I plan to own.
So you're gonna rent out units?
That would be my intent, but anything is possible depending on economic conditions.
So if you're not renting them, you'd have to sell them and you would no longer own them, correct?
Yes. But my intent is to own them long-term, rent them.
Have you had this discussion with Mr. Polidori about his adjacent parcel?
Yeah, we've talked to him a few times. He's here tonight. And that's why we came up with the access point where it is, moving it. We talked to him and he was open to the idea of moving it, so.
And he's okay? Why don't you come on up to the, I'd like to get you on record at least, for Lisa's sake, to be able to hear your response to that. And that's why I'm asking, is it, you've got 5 single-family homes next to then 10 duplexes?
Mauro Polidori, yeah, I own only four empty lots.
Okay.
The farmhouse we sold. Not too keen on rentals, because I sort of want to build nicer homes there. When I first talked to them, they were supposed to be single-family homes. And then all of a sudden, you know, I did sign something, but I didn't quite see that they were duplexes, so I'm not too interested in the duplexes. Not sure how that driveway's gonna work. And we got 5 homes exiting onto County Road 9, which is a busy road. And, you know, if there were 3 or 5 single-family homes, that'd be bad. All that, that means there's 15 families exited out onto a, you know, not even a dedicated road.
Who would,
And a tough, especially wintertime, those curves, so.
who would maintain?
I have a
that road?
CPS 7 set aside, I'm not sure, I mean, it's really, and they're actually moving it down. I mean, I don't know, I just sort of waiting them to see what they want to do. Seems very complicated, because I'm ready to go. I have a 50-foot easement that stretches all the way, that's why they had to set their houses
That goes right up to Aldrich, doesn't it?
in my easement.
Yeah.
So that's why they had to set the houses beyond my
So
easement.
That's
That's a dotted red line.
right there.
So that's ours.
Yep.
You know, I mean, I'm a developer just like them. I want to build, but that's cramming a lot. And, you know, definitely not, I'm not fond of the duplexes, that's for sure. And I don't even know how that would set a precedence for the town. I mean, I don't think there's any private drives or private roads, right, that have more than 5.
There is a difference between a common drive and then a private
There is,
roadway.
right.
So I think the 3-lot limitation is for common driveways
Yeah.
only. So a private road is different. It's structurally different.
Yep.
It's a wider sort of roadway.
We had it up in Highland Green, I do understand.
So is yours a private drive or a private roadway to your 4 parcels?
Private drive.
Private drive. Okay, and that has,
Doesn't meet specs, no gutters.
yeah, so you got the variance for the number of homes on that private drive.
Over 3, yep.
So your private drive would come off of their private road? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, it would come off the private road. His private drive would start at the property line to the south.
Where it
So
comes back
we would
down.
have our private road up to the property line, and then his private drive would start.
I'm trying to figure out how that legally works, but
Well, then,
for maintenance
I
and
don't
all
know
that.
how we're gonna redo a CPS 7, that's the agreement for the 5 houses that I have. I mean, it's a little cluttered, but
Okay, all right, well, thanks, I appreciate your comments.
And just real quick about the density, it is only 1 unit per acre, which is very not dense in just about all standards. I know the developable area is kind of clustered in one small section, but the general overall concept is very not dense.
And again, the way that it was broken up in the past didn't envision that many homes in that spot. I get that the density is technically okay, 1 per 10 acres, you have 10 units per a 10-acre lot. But the good developable property that would have been considered on the overall application was never, this wasn't included in that.
Yeah, that was before me, so
Yeah,
I'm not too sure.
Right, and
about.
that's why I said, it's not your fault, but the problem is, when we have to review a development like this,
Mhm.
we have to take into consideration all of the things that happen for the entire parcel.
Okay.
So I've voiced most of my concerns, I think, at the moment, but I don't know if the board has any other comments they wish to weigh in on.
No, other than I agree with your points and the consideration of the total parcel, and this is a much higher density in this corner than we had ever contemplated.
Mhm. Wes, you mentioned a few things that should be on a sketch plan that maybe were not well
Yeah.
documented here.
Yeah, and comment number 5. Also, if the planning board were willing, I might also suggest doing a site walk,
Mhm.
right? If that's going to help maybe get you a flavor for maybe how much developable area there is there. I don't know if the wetland delineation, are there flags out on site that show the boundaries of the wetland?
They had done a wetland delineation. I haven't been to the site since,
Okay.
but I believe they had put flags in. I'm not sure if they're still there. I didn't pull them out, but
Okay.
I'm not sure if,
When was that done?
back in July.
Okay, so
It's been a few months,
months,
so-
not years.
Yeah.
Well, if you would be amenable to a site walk, which seems to me would be a good thing to do, perhaps he could get out there and reestablish those flags if you can find them, maybe
Yeah,
make
if you'd
them a
let me
little more
know
visible.
when you're gonna go, I can make sure to either get them restaked or,
All right, we'll have to
Myself.
work something out here at the meeting later, and then we can work with Lisa, and she can let
Okay.
you know
perfect.
available dates.
Yep.
And we
Thank
can go
you.
from that.
Might be helpful to stake out other things besides the wetlands. It might be helpful to stake out some of the proposed house locations for reference in the field when you're
Yeah.
walking the site.
Okay?
And I'd just like to add, I wasn't aware of the history that you recited, Wes, but given what you've recited, I think you're correct with the 3.
Okay. So I think the preference would be, well, my preference would be that we get some additional detail on the sketch plan before we put it before the board to approve as complete. But also, I think it would be worthwhile to have a sketch plan, site walk, so that we can give you more valuable commentary, information, and allow you to make that judgment as if you want to pursue this level of development on this parcel.
Okay, yeah, that works
Oh.
for me.
Okay, so I will set aside that. We have a draft resolution for complete sketch plan. I don't believe it's complete. Honestly, I don't want to vote it down. If we can have an opportunity to perhaps have a site walk and get some more information about your proposal, so, and the site. So, does anyone have any other comments or?
No.
No. Agree with that? Don't? Okay. All right, so we'll look to do it within the next month for sure, if not a couple, 3 weeks. I don't know if you all could have, well, we can talk later, but find out who's available and when. And then we can have Lisa propose some dates to the applicant. So, thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
The next application in front of us is also not a public hearing. It is a sketch application. Timberview Estates subdivision on Klein Road. Mr. Polidori, I believe. Applicant is requesting acknowledgement of complete application to develop 24 single-family home lots on a 74.5 acre parcel. This is the first step of a major subdivision, and only acknowledgement of a completed application will be considered at this meeting. Good evening.
Good evening. My name's John Sharaba with Landtech. I'm here on behalf of Polidori and Ferry Homes, and as you know, Mr. Polidori is here and can answer any questions that I cannot. The board may remember this project. We presented this project back over 8 years ago, and back in August of 2016, and went through the sketch plan process, but stopped the project after that. Polidori and Ferry Homes built other properties throughout the town and elsewhere, focused on other properties, and now have asked me to bring this back to life and go through the formal approval process at this time. Just a brief overview of this site. This is a 74-acre parcel of land located on the west side of Klein Road, about 800 feet south of Bortle Road. Mr. Polidori in the business does own 2 other adjacent parcels that are in the town of Farmington. One's about a 1.7 acre parcel, a vacant parcel that's farmed south of the original farmhouse, and then the other one is a 5 acre parcel, heavily wooded with pine trees, again, on the west side of Klein Road. The property is zoned residential 2, and it does have an overlay district A, which requires 50% open space. We're very aware of that. The property is a beautiful piece of property. It's currently farmed, majority of it. There are elements of the property that are not farmed. To the west, northwest corner of the property, there's about a 10 acre wooded parcel that's going to remain. There are some pockets of federal wetland located in the creek corridor that's there. We have provided the town engineer a copy of the wetland delineation for that. As I mentioned, there is a ditch/creek that bisects the property, starting at the southwest corner of the site and migrates through, almost bisects right in the middle, eventually crossing Klein Road near our proposed access. That swale ditch has been maintained by the farmer to keep everything flowing, but that is really kind of where the wetlands are. Our intention is to protect that corridor with the conservation easement as well. The other factor of the property is we have at the southeast corner of the property, we have a drumlin, a beautiful piece of ground there that, everyone kind of gravitates to when you walk up to the property. I also I mentioned the farmer and that it's already actively being farmed. I did have an opportunity to meet with the farmer. And he also farms that 8 acre farm lot that's north of our property at the corner of Bortle. And I just wanted to point that out to the board because we are aware that field is tiled and it does drain onto our site. So in our design plans, we have accommodated that. We have a storm pipe proposed. So any the tiles that drain or stormwater that drains from that will come southerly onto us, and we'll make sure we can handle that.
Could you, I think there's a laser pointer there. Could you kind of approximate what you're talking about?
All right, yeah, so this is that 8 acre field I'm talking about.
Okay.
And there drains into this ditch.
All right.
So in this area, as I mentioned, is the wetland area, and then there's a ditch that comes through here and then crosses Bortle Road.
Great.
This is the 10 acre area of woods I was talking about, and then where these 4 lots are proposed is that drumlin area. This area in Farmington is the 5 acre parcel I was talking about, and then there's this little 1.7 acre parcel owned by Polidori and Ferry Homes.
Is there another drumlin up here on the upper part? Or
I don't believe so. It looks.
It rises up
It's
here, I
not
know
as pronounced
that.
as this one.
Yeah,
But
okay.
it does drop. So once you get to here, it drops down to the west.
Yeah, okay. It's a
So-
beautiful property. I mean,
It's gorgeous. So the plan is essentially the same as we did back in 2015. Some of the slight changes are we decreased the amount of lots. Back then, we had 26 lots proposed, and we've decreased that by 2. So we're proposing a 24 lot subdivision. This is about a 2,200 section of road. We are proposing a dedicated road. And this is the private drive that goes up to these 4 lots. We are going to request a waiver for this private drive as part of our application. This private drive, it's been interesting working with Mauro on this. When he's out there talking to people, as I mentioned, he's been building other places, but people always want to say, oh, I want to buy a lot here. It's not approved yet. But once he goes out here and starts walking with his clients, they naturally want to come up here. And so those are the prime lots and probably the toughest for us to deal with. And I'm sure we'll have a lot of conversation about that in the future. The other thing I want to point out is we completed final percolation test on majority of the lots with Labella back in 2015. Some of those are going to have to be adjusted due to the change in lot configuration. So I'm going to be working with them on making sure that, this was lot 1 and now it's lot 2, and we'll have to navigate that as a team. But the perk rate is ranged from about 2 minutes to 27 minutes. So there are some changeable soils there, and we will have to do some other testing. We originally had some leach fields designed behind the rear lots over here. I think that was done partly because it was being farmed, and we wouldn't want to mess up the farmer, so we might have to come back down in here and do some additional tests in front of the buildings, in front of the houses.
you find it's fairly consistent soils through the
Yes,
site?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, once you got down, some of them near the creek, actually, which I thought were going to be the worst, are actually some of the best.
Okay.
So I just find that interesting.
Yeah.
with a project of this scale, I know the board's familiar with this, we are going to have to do a stormwater prevention plan, so we are going to be disturbing more than 1 acre, so we'll work with that. I did mention that we did submit the wetland report, and other things I'd like to point out is we show 5-bedroom design leach fields as our graphic representation. And the other thing is that it's kind of interesting is we show 5,000 square foot footprints. So these footprints you see are really huge. It's bigger than I think what House Morrow usually builds, and he builds a big house. So we just wanted to show that we have a lot of room on these lots, even though we're looking at it on paper. They're huge lots. All lots meet the zoning, and these are huge houses proposed. So we might see some changes in that as we go through. I did receive some comments, written comments from the town engineer, the fire department, town staff. I don't see any showstoppers with those comments, and I look forward to working with them in the future. We did submit to SHPO, and there are no historic issues on this site, so that's a good thing. And no other things really came up on the seeker. We did the seeker back in 2015. I know we'll have to do the long form again to make the formal application.
Any archaeological issues?
Nope.
Okay.
So that worked out. Other than that, we're looking to really get going on design. The other element is we are going to be crossing this creek. We are probably going to do that with a 3-sided box culvert so that we don't have to disturb the creek and get a permit from the Army Corps. The size and type of that obviously will be reviewed by the town engineer. But I'm looking for any feedback you have related to the layout so that we can really get to design and come back for a public hearing.
Okay, great. I'll open up to the board. Ernie, want to start? Questions? You and I think we're the only ones that have site walked it back in the day.
Did we?
I did. You may not. I don't know. I thought you did.
I think I probably did too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like a nice property. And it looks like you've given some thought to it, to the layout. Do you have any prospective buyers yet?
I think Morrow's always got a few buyers in his pocket, and
Four, apparently all in the drumlin there. Yeah, right. Yeah, okay.
That's all I have.
Okay, Scott?
I don't think I have really anything at this time. The private drive at the Drumlin looks interesting. I'm curious to know what the fire marshal thinks of that with respect to a turnaround.
Okay.
yeah, we to your point on that, we did get those comments from him, and we are looking at about it's at 10% to 15% at times on that driveway. We're really trying to get that flattened as much as possible. I think we can definitely incorporate a turnaround for him on that. The other thing that always comes up, and I think Wes might be able to speak to this, is I'm trying to avoid the word Farmington. But we are proposing, you can see on the sketch, that we are going to do a project in Farmington. So we have some flexibility maybe to have access to Farmington in the future, but I don't think we really want to talk about that. We talked at length about it previously, back 8 years ago. We even talked annexation and things such as that. So it seems to be a challenging topic, so we're just kind of taking it off the table. But I think emergency vehicles, we might be able to come up with a plan to help alleviate that situation.
Yeah, I mean, I think we look to the fire marshal for that, and I guess in terms of stormwater, you've got some stormwater homework to do, because you're disturbing more than 5 acres as I see it.
Yeah, so the stormwater management plan right now is there's going to be some stormwater ponds associated with it right along that creek corridor. Right now, most of the runoff, we've started the drainage analysis. Thankfully, that 10 acres to the west drains away from the project site. And a lot of it is really the drumlin again that comes up, because everything from the drumlin just races down that hill. So there'll be a storm sewer system at the toe of that slope where the drumlin is. But I will obviously have the SWIP document to prove all those factors will work out.
Joe, I asked Wes before the meeting started his comments on disturbing the drumlins.
Okay.
Any prohibitions to that?
Well, I know drumlins have been challenging on other project applications,
Yes.
so I appreciate the question. Wes, any thoughts on that?
So I don't know, I have not seen any prohibitions to building on drumlins. It is identified in the natural resource inventory that drumlins they are a unique landform, and they provide some aesthetic value to the community. It might be interesting as part of the proposal if the applicant might be able to provide a photo simulation of some sort that might depict what the project would look like from the public right-of-way, you know, how that drumlin would be affected and how that visual resource, if it would be adversely impacted, or if it's even something that the planning board would worry about. But we've heard certainly comments on other projects about, you know, soil disturbance, changing the character of the neighborhood, with modifying a drumlin or an esker or a came or some just topographic interest, right? There's some unique topographic interest. I've got a copy of, Susie, would you mind switching the screen here? I'll just share. It's not a very high resolution photograph, but this is from the NRI, Natural Resources Inventory. Oh,
Nice picture.
technical difficulties here. Let's try this again.
Well, I know that it would be,
Your cottage, Wes?
Why isn't it showing up? That's interesting. That's Fish Creek Pond, if anybody's interested.
oh yeah, I've camped there before.
I don't know, it's not showing up. I don't know, so maybe switch it back. I was gonna show a,
So, you know, and I knew this topic was going to come up, and I know
Yeah.
that this drumlin is going to be one of our major points of the subdivision. I think
yeah,
Klein Road, I think you're really only going to see the elements, if you're going south on Klein Road from Bortle, where you're going straight south along that county line, you're going to see that first southern house, or the second. Once you traverse that curve, you're well into those wooded areas, and you're so close to the hill, you'll never see a house up there.
okay,
That's, I think the impact area is where our road access in that area, where you're going to see anything up there. I can't speak adequately to the south, but I know as Klein goes south, it's still a hill, and I don't think you're going to see anything looking west.
yeah.
I don't have the ability. I can do something graphically with 2D to try to help with that, but,
Okay.
you know.
I think some of the concerns that people have expressed about drumlins in general around the town is
Yep.
how much earthwork would be done on them affecting the overall shape. You know, you don't want to cut the top off by 10
Right.
feet, that sort of thing.
Our
And-
intention we have to keep the native soil due to the leach fields.
Right.
The biggest change is going to be that road driveway going up,
That's,
which is facing directly west, away from the public right away. That'll be the biggest change. Other than that, the houses will be set on it in its natural state, you know, with some minor grading.
and maybe that goes to the comment about there may be a visual rendering from Klein Road up towards the drumlin.
Yeah, we could try to put
Very
something
useful.
together.
Okay.
The other comment that I have, if I could
Yeah,
jump
go
in
ahead,
again,
Scott. Or
is
Les.
I'm looking at the graphic that I can see here from my vantage point. And it sounds like this is going to be a clustered subdivision. And the reason why I say that is the common driveway that's shared, those are those flag lots. So each one of those 4 homes on the drumlin are going to have like 20 feet of road frontage.
Correct.
So in order for that to work, they would have to file, or they would have to indicate in their application, their preliminary application, that they're submitting under the clustering provisions of the town code. And one of the provisions for clustering is you know, you're preserving some open space or environmental features that are sensitive. I see some green areas in this this graphic in front of me, and then even there's a leg that's all green. But the planning board, you'll need to feel comfortable with answering the question: do you feel that these homes are clustered enough? You know, or is this more of a traditional subdivision in terms of, you know, providing those larger lots? So that's just a question I pose in front of you. I'm not saying one way or the other.
Just visually, it does not look like a clustered subdivision. I mean, each lot, all of them seem to cover the entire parcel without a lot of extraneous conservation easement.
Yeah, and relative to that, isn't the subdivision subject to then the open space requirement that you were talking about?
Yeah, so the graphic that you guys are looking at, the green, so we require approximately 37 acres of open space, and that is equal to 37 acres. So we try to protect existing hedgerows, the stream corridor, that 10-acre parcel, the steep slope of the drumlin, and I think we did a good job. Again, if you start looking at those house footprints, and you're like, oh my God, there's no backyard, but there is. That's a lot. There's at least a 100-foot backyard in each of them, which we can, you know, demonstrate in future plans. So I think we can achieve it. I appreciate Wes bringing it up. If we have to label it as cluster, if there's a waiver process for those flag lots, whichever way the board needs us to go.
I think cluster is the way that you want to treat it. I see that, you know, the parcel of land to the northwest, I guess would be, that's just kind of been your target, I guess, for the open space then, and so that's not to be developed. But I mean, it's somewhat at the purview of the board as to where the open space goes, I think, at this juncture.
Okay, well, as he said,
Yeah.
we'll be,
And for
We'll
your,
go through
and
that.
going back 8 years ago, there were some concepts that we did in the typical cluster philosophy, shrinking the lots down, leaving more open space, but it didn't really pan out for the size and scale of the houses that are built today on these subdivisions, and especially when you have a leach field. So I think the lots themselves have dictated what the market is and what Morrow wants to build. And anyway, we can try to label it cluster or how we have to do it. I think what's important is that we're going to make sure we meet that overlay district.
The other thing that the planning board could ask for, I'll leave it up to you, is if you're going to consider a cluster subdivision, sometimes you would also ask for the applicant to provide a layout for the traditional subdivision, right? So a non-clustered version. How does this compare with your traditional subdivision?
I guess that would go to my point if it doesn't really look like a clustered subdivision when you get right down to it, and the layout probably would not look much different than this. I don't know if it's necessary in this case to go that way, but that's my opinion.
Okay.
So, Al?
Other questions at this
Okay.
time?
As I said, I think Ernie and I are the ones that have seen this in the past. I don't have a problem with the subdivision at all. It's a beautiful lot. I think you've done a nice job. I like the fact that you actually removed 2 lots to make it work better for the style of development that you're looking at.
We arm wrestled for a while.
Yeah.
It was not a pretty sight.
Wes, do you think, I don't think that this is a problem with approving it as a complete sketch application?
Yeah,
You didn't see anything missing or?
No, I think what they've submitted for sketch plan is adequate to deem
Okay,
it a complete sketch.
Mhm.
Yeah.
all right,
We
So-
even have the wetland delineation here in my file.
there you go. All right, well,
So then I can work with Wes in the future on how we title this moving forward as
there
far
you
as.
go.
Okay.
So, unless there's anything else you need to add, or the board has any questions on, I can move forward this resolution for sketch plan completeness, and we can allow that process to move forward. So,
Okay.
for the Timberline Estates subdivision sketch on Klein Road, application 07SK 2024, whereas the planning board made the following findings of fact: sketch plan application consisting of but not limited to a letter of intent, sketch plan application forms, sketch plan drawing set, tax map exhibit, aerial photograph were received August 20th, 2024 from Polidori and Ferry Custom Homes, the applicant, by the Secretary of the Planning Board for a major subdivision entitled Timber View Estates Subdivision, that's the project, for the property located on Klein Road, Victor, New York. Number 2, the project proposes development of 74.5-acre parcel into 24 single-family lots with 4 parcels to be accessed from a single private driveway. Number 3, an under review sign was posted on the subject parcel as required by town code. Number 4, the coordinated fire service site plan review of the sketch application on August 27th, 2024 with comments provided. Number 5, the Conservation Board reviewed the sketch plan on September 17th, 2024 and supports the application with a proposed site walk. Lisa, if you can let us know when theirs is in case anyone from the planning board would like to attend. 6, Codes Department reviewed the sketch plan on September 20th, 2024 and provided comments. 7, LaBelle Associates reviewed the sketch plan on September 24th, 2024 and provided comments. Now therefore be it resolved that regarding the sketch plan application of Polidori and Ferris Custom Homes, major subdivision entitled Timberview Estates Subdivision, drawn by Land Tech Surveying dated August 20th, 2024, received Planning Board August 20th, 2024. Planning Board application 07SK 2024, The planning board acknowledges receipt of a complete sketch plat application, and be it further resolved that the planning board secretary forward a copy of this resolution to the applicant. So need a motion.
I'll move.
Ernie moves,
Second.
Al seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried 4-0.
Thank you very much. Look forward to working with you.
Thank you. Application number 3, this is a public hearing, Judson Garage and House Addition, 7286 Town Line Road. Owner Thomas Judson, applicant is requesting approval to construct a 1,600 square foot detached garage and new 955 square foot basement addition and 858 square feet of bedroom addition. Somebody here for that? Good. I looked up and there's nobody there.
You can put it on the chair if you want. You can move a chair.
Got way prettier images than that over here. Good evening, everyone. Becky with SWBR. So we are seeking comment and approval for the addition. It's about 900 square foot addition to our first floor with the associated basement below, and then a 1,600 square foot detached garage to the east of the house.
Actually, there's a laser pointer there. If you could actually point to the one on your left,
There we go.
so that
Yep.
Susie gets it on camera.
Thank you. So this is the building addition or home addition. And then here is the 1,600 square foot garage. And the intent is to extend the first floor area to create a master living space. The basement below, unfinished, just mechanical storage, and just associated foundation needed to accommodate the addition above.
Thanks. So, questions for the applicant? Al, want to start?
I'd say no questions as much as I think it's a very large parcel. It's extremely wooded. I think the proposed are very much in keeping with the existing structure and well concealed from the surrounding homes. So I don't have any concerns with what's being proposed
Okay.
here.
Great. Scott?
I agree. What's the closest public road to where the house is? Are you like a quarter of a mile away from the nearest road?
There's it doesn't show it on here, but I think this is there's a private, I believe this. Yep. Right about in Santa Maria.
And how many acres is the parcel?
Approximately 300, I think this is.
I guess there's enough room.
Unlike our
Definitely
first
out of public.
application.
I'm Ebets Judson.
Yeah, into the microphone, please, that's all. Sorry. Just say your name again at the microphone.
Microphone.
Ebets Judson, owner of the property.
Thank you.
So Murray Road comes down here, Town Line Road comes in that far, and then it's not dedicated
Uh-huh.
that far. Does that make sense?
Yep, makes sense.
So definitely off the path, outside of public eye.
Yeah.
And then as you guys indicated, so we're maintaining the existing character of the structure. We did just receive town comments from LaBella, I think either yesterday or this morning. I think the only thing we really need to answer is we do intend to have gutters for the garage addition, but I think the only other thing we're actually looking into right now, Thursday, we do have Myers Environmental coming out to confirm the existing septic tank size. We believe based on as-built or submitted as-built drawings that there's one 1,000 gallon tank and one 250 gallon tank, in which case the existing septic should be acceptable for this addition, for this bedroom, but we're just confirming that, and then as requested, we will have a report indicating that it can accommodate the additional bedroom.
Anything else, Scott?
No, I don't have anything else.
Ernie, questions?
No, I think it looks very nice, and it's certainly a big enough lot for it.
Okay, Wes, any technical issues that you want to bring up?
Nothing no showstoppers here. The applicant's representative commented about gutters, and I did see the comment from the code enforcement office about the on-site wastewater treatment system and confirming that the size of the existing system, whether or not that's adequate for the additional bedroom. I think that's a great comment. And then just a minor note to be added to the plan set. So Labella's all set.
Okay, great. As am I. So, looks like a very nice project. So, no problems here. If it is a public hearing, so if there's anyone in the audience who would like to question, comment this application, Dave says no, he's fine. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll move.
Al moves.
Second.
Ernie seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, public hearing is closed. Anything else you needed to present? Sounds like we're pretty good, so thank you. So with that, I will read the resolution for this application. For the Judson Barn and House Edition, 7286 Town Line Road, application 21 SP 24. Whereas the planning board made the following findings of fact, and there are 9 of them. Now therefore be it resolved that the application of SWBR site plan entitled Judson Barn and House Edition received by the planning board August 20th, 2024, planning board application 21 SP 2024, be approved with the following conditions. 1, conditions to be addressed prior to chairman's signature, that no final signatures will be given on the plans until all legal and engineering fees have been paid. Number 2, that any exterior lighting be compliant with Chapter 131 of the Victor Town Code and approved by the code enforcement officer. Number 3, the comments in a letter dated September 24th from Labella Associates be addressed. Number 4, comments from the code enforcement officer dated August 30th, 2024 be addressed, and ongoing conditions, both are standard conditions, and be it therefore resolved that the planning board secretary distribute the planning board's approval letter. Do I hear a motion for approval?
Move.
Ernie moves,
Second.
and Scott seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried 4-0. So,
Thank you.
all right, we have 2 more applications this evening. Number 4, the Smith Storage Garage. This is also a public hearing. 7610 Arbor Glen Drive, owner Timothy Smith, applicants requesting approval to construct a 576 square foot storage garage off the existing driveway turnaround. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm here with the 576 square foot detached garage.
I'm sorry, your name and,
Tim Smith.
okay,
As proposed, it will be located off of the existing turnaround on the driveway. The garage location is approximately 750 feet from the street. This location also will allow for very minimal impact on grading, and extension of the driveway for access to the garage. This morning I did receive Wes's comments, and submitted by email a plan to Lisa with revisions to the site plans as requested. I have hard copies if you want them this evening.
I'm sorry, say it.
I have hard copies of the site plans if you want them this evening.
Sure, if you can, Keith will pass it out for you.
I think Wes's only points that would not address, there was a question of removal of existing vegetation. So expecting to have to remove 3 6 to 8 inch trees to accommodate the garage location, 1 locust and 2 sassafras. There was also a question of requirement for an area variance. When we started the application process, that was it was thought that we would have to have an area variance, but code since clarified that that would not be necessary. And Wes, I agree with your notes in item number 1 as well.
Okay, I guess I'll open it up to the board. Al, questions?
Well, I guess just the question was, what the area variance was for the proximity to the property line, and it's no longer within that, or the garage was moved? or-
My understanding from Adam was that it was given the proximity to the property lines that it wasn't required, yes.
It was intentionally forward of the front of the house, front line, but after reviewing his lot, the
Oh.
configuration of it, Adam deemed that it was not forward of the front of the house.
Okay.
So then
not a
he
side
did not
setback.
have to go for the
Okay, yep,
variance.
all right, very good.
It's a weird
Yes,
lot.
it's a very weird shape.
But again, very large lot, I have no concerns or issues with what's proposed here.
Ernie?
I agree, I don't see any problem with this.
Scott?
Same.
Okay, as, I don't either. Pretty straightforward. It is a public hearing. Anyone from the public have any questions about this? Comments? Hearing or seeing none, entertain motion to close the public hearing.
I'll move.
Al moves.
Second.
Ernie seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Public hearing is closed. Anyone else? Wes, any comments?
I'll just follow up. I did get the updated plan via email this afternoon that satisfies Labella's concerns. So I'm all set.
Okay. Very good. So with that, public hearing's closed, and with no more questions, I'll read the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you.
Resolution Smith Storage Garage, application 23 SP 2024, address 7610 Arbor Glen Drive. Whereas the planning board made the following findings of fact, and there are 8 of them. Now therefore be it resolved that the application of Tim Smith site plan entitled Smith Storage Garage received by the planning board August 30th, 2024, planning board application 23 SP 2024 be approved with the following conditions. Conditions that to be addressed prior to chairman's signature on the site plan. Number 1 and number 2 are standard, and that the comments, number 3, that the comments in a letter dated September 23rd, 2024 from Labella Associates be addressed. Ongoing conditions, they are both standard, and be it further resolved that the planning board secretary distribute the planning board's approval letter. So on that resolution, do I hear a motion for approval?
I move.
Ernie moves.
I'll second.
Scott seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, last item on the agenda, I believe. Yep, it's Victor Excavating Pole Barn. This is a public hearing. 7084 Old Dutch Road, owner Victor Real Estate Corporation. Zoning is light industrial. It's an application 22 SB 2024. Applicants requesting approval to construct a 8,125 square foot metal sided pole barn for inside storage of construction materials and apparatus. Good evening, Mr. Thornton.
Good evening, Glenn Thornton, Thornton Engineering. I'm here representing Victor Excavating, as Chairman stated. Yes, the pole barn, we did receive an area variance from the zoning board at their last meeting to permit the 10-foot side setback where 30 feet is required. We've received comments. We really don't have any issues with any of the comments. The fire marshal has looked for some information that we're gathering for the sprinkler system for the building, and we'll work with him. He's asked for a Knox box. We're not sure where he would like that placed on the site for access, fire department connection, fire flow, and we got some information today. So the other comments we received were pretty minor. The county planning had a couple comments about a concrete truck washout pit, seed mixes, which, not a problem. So LaBella had a few comments about downspouts, showing locations of additional downspouts and providing more information about the lighting instead of the dark sky compliant, indicate full cutoff lights, and motion sensors. We have no problems with that suggestion to add that. So
Okay.
They don't have to be motion censored. So it was in
We
the
thought
letter?
it was a good idea.
Right, okay.
Yeah, we like it.
Up to you.
Good job, Glenn. Thank you, Glenn. I'll start. I just want to make sure we all understand why the building had to be so close to the parcel, and as I understand it, you needed a large turning radius for equipment, is that
Turning radius, they have a low boy trailer that they pull some equipment in. Most of their equipment is left on job sites, so it moves from job site to job site. But there is some equipment that comes back. This is their yard, their contractor yard that they're using. So a lot of equipment does come in daily, pulled in with a low boy, and really the swing radius on the low boy needs that full area. And we did demonstrate to the zoning board with a sketch how the low boy, the wheel paths were routed through there, and why we needed the building placed there, and why we couldn't move the building to the east. So,
Okay, thanks for the background. Al, want to start?
No questions.
Okay. Scott?
I don't really have much to say, no, I think it looks reasonable. Really,
Okay.
anything to it.
Ernie?
You see the comment from the town of Mendon?
I saw that.
About
Did you see it?
It's like right here.
We, I talked, Pete Yerkes is with me today, we talked about that, and this is their yard, they need the space, so to put in landscaping buffering on the side of the building would decrease the amount of usable space they have, and they don't want to use their green area out in front of the building towards Old Dutch Road for storage or lay down area or whatever. So we would, we understand what the supervisor is saying about, the buffering standards, but within the town of Mendon, just over the property line, there's a significant wooded area over there. So I really don't know if some additional screening would do any good at all.
Yeah, I don't see much of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
don't see
Suzie,
a
can
house
you
at
go to
all.
the next slide? It shows like a larger, yeah, that shows Mendon.
So
Significant
this
amount of
is the
vegetation.
Couple
site,
100 feet, I think.
really? Yeah, there it goes.
And I don't see anybody from
Yeah,
Mendon here tonight
yeah.
either.
Just, that's all right. For some reason, this wasn't working right. But there's all this wooded area right here, is what you're saying.
Right.
And so there's no homes even in eyeshot. And even if they, move the building to the north and put landscaping in, it's not putting landscaping between the building and the residential property. It's putting landscaping between Victor Excavating's building and the next commercial or light industrial parcel to the south. So the only thing you could do is put stuff, put landscaping between the building and the western property line, which, as you properly noted.
We could. We really would prefer not to, just because it's using up space. It's a pretty limited contractor yard as it is now.
Right.
So,
I say, given the nature of the way the operation is set up today, the building is not going to
Right,
Grade.
it will actually
Cosmetic
shield
appearance. Right.
the view of the yard from
Right.
that part.
Yeah.
So I'm sympathetic to Mendon's concerns. I think in this case, the site dictates not really a need for,
I would agree.
the layout of the tree and everything on the Mendon side is a huge buffer.
What's
So-
this structure over here?
it's an old barn, old storage barn on the property. How old is that, Pete? Old. Yeah.
Is it as tall as this building is going to be? A little bit, not a lot, though.
Yeah, I've stated on the plan, I think I estimated the new building would be 28 feet. I think that was generous. I think it'll be quite a bit shorter than that. I mean, get some 14-foot doors on the north side, a couple feet up to the eave, and then a fairly flat roof on it, so.
Well, my only comment is there's something there already that's even closer to the lot line
Yeah. Oh,
than this
yeah.
building's going to be.
I think the existing building is 10 feet or something like that to the lot line.
Yeah.
And Victor, I think you have good relationships with the neighbors, right? You've done work for them and
for all the neighbors.
not aware of any complaints over the years, so.
Okay. Susie, any comments we received online? Okay. Figured I'd check in case the folks in Mendon might have been on watching and had comments, but not seeing any. This is a public hearing. I don't see where there's anyone that might be interested in it approaching. Dave, so with that, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll move.
Al moves.
Second.
Ernie seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Public hearing is closed. So unless, Wes, you have any other comments?
No,
Okay.
I don't have anything further.
All right, then I'll read the motion for approval. Oh, resolution, Victor Excavating Pole Barn, 784 Old Dutch Road, application 22 SB 2024. Whereas the planning board made the following findings of fact, and there are 9, 5, and 6, 11. Now therefore be it resolved that the application of Victor Real Estate Corporation site plan entitled Victor Excavating Pole Barn be approved with the following conditions. Conditions to be addressed prior to chairman's signature on the site plan. Number 1 is standard. Number 2, the comments in the letter dated September 3rd, 2024 from the fire marshal be addressed. Number 3, that the comments in the letter dated September 23rd from Labella Associates be addressed. Number 4, that any exterior lighting be compliant with Chapter 131 of the Victor Town Code and approved by the code enforcement officer, which you did reflect on, Glenn. Ongoing conditions, number 1 and 2 are both standard. So, and be it further resolved that the planning board secretary distribute the planning board's approval letter. So on that resolution, do I hear a motion for approval?
Move it.
Ernie moves.
Second.
Al seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carried 4-0.
Thank you.
You guys are all set. So other than site walk for Aldrich Road, I think that's the only item we have left. So anybody have any preferences, or would you like to email preferences to Lisa on date that you might want?
I'll be out of town all of next week.
Okay.
Other than that,
On the weekend too, I assume?
no, I don't leave till Monday.
Okay. Well, let's look at because I'm busy all next weekend and the following weekend, Saturday. So does anyone have any time during the week, or would you rather do it on weekends? I guess that would be a question I should ask first.
I'm at entire loose ends. Retired, you know.
Yeah. Is that right? All right. I guess next week's out, may possibly the weekend after October 4th, so whatever that is, the 7th, 11th.
I think if we just circulate some times and
Yeah.
dates,
Yeah.
we'll hit on something.
Yep.
I've got a medical procedure on October 1st with one of my back, but
Oh,
that's,
okay, that's right.
it's in and out.
All right. So sounds like in a couple of weeks, we may be able to work it in.
Okay.
And invite the Conservation Board, please. So let's work out a date, circulate emails, and then we should be good to go. So that'll give them some time to do some flags out there too and get them marked out. I think we asked them to do that. So with that, anybody have a motion to adjourn?
I'm moving.
Ernie moves, and have a great rest
Rest of your week.
Enjoy it.
Have a great rest of your month.
Thanks for coming, Dave. Always nice to have us.